Hello everyone and welcome back to Carvenus 14. Now today we are going to be talking about, well, a character that's only just recently surfaced, and his name is Kazuha. Now obviously we have actually, if you guys have been keeping up to date with the leaks of Genshin Impact, I know some of you don't like leaks. If that's the case, then well, this video is not for you. But if you guys do follow the leaks, then you will remember all the way back in patch 1.1, I believe it was, around October-November time, we actually got some data mined images of characters coming to the future, and Kazuha was on there. Now, before, he was thought to be a 4-star Pyro Polearm user. Now, obviously, you're going to find out in this video that that's not the case. So, what is his name? Well, his name before was Kiryu Kazuha. For those of you that are actually cultured, you will know that sounds very, very familiar. To those of you that don't know why this sounds familiar, damn. That's all I can say. Yeah, so his name before was Kiryu Kazuha, but now his name has apparently been changed to Keidehara Kazuha. I'm presuming because of maybe some copyright issues with a certain character called Kiryu Kazuma. Yeah, those of you that know Kiryu Kazuma, then you know, alright? Congratulations, you all deserve a pat on the back. Now, what does he look like? Well, he looks like this. He's basically the cooler version of the Traveler, is what I'm going with, because frankly, the Traveler can switch elements. But does he have leaves on him? No. So, yeah, he's definitely the cooler Traveler, or he's also known as Mr. Canada, or Mr. Canadian, just because the whole red maple tree kind of thing vibe going on here. So, yeah, now, Kazuha, who is he? He is a wandering samurai from Inazuma who is currently on the Crux. Now, those of you, I mean, we'll talk about the Crux later, actually. A gentle and carefree soul whose heart hides many great burdens, or great many burdens. So, for those of you guys that don't know what the Crux is basically Beidou's ship. You know, the one off, like, the east coast of Guyanstone Forest? Yeah, there. So, basically, Kazuha is on that ship, and it makes it sound as though he's actually voluntarily on that ship. Like, he hasn't sneaked aboard or anything. He's actually come with Beidou to Liyue. As for why he's in Liyue, we have no idea. But also, if you didn't know, he's also a Ronin. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what a Ronin is basically a samurai that doesn't belong to a clan or a house. So, Kazuha is a Ronin ninja, meaning he's not necessarily an orphan, but he's not part of a house or a clan. Like, Kamisato Ayaka is part of the Kamisato house. So, whereas, Kazuha is not part of any house. He's just a Ronin, a wandering samurai, basically. So, yeah. Basically, I'm wondering if we're finally going to be seeing Beidou in Kazuha's story quest because, well, as you can clearly see, he is a 5-star Anemo sword user. Now, that probably means that all 5-star characters coming in a banner are going to get their own story quest. So, because Kazuha is going to be getting his own banner, I'm thinking that we may be able to see, hopefully, Beidou on the Crux, where we'll probably find, Kazuha. Because, I mean, how else are we going to get to the Crux? Unless we just swim over there in the story and just manage to land on the ship. So, yeah, I don't really know how that's going to work, but, yeah, you guys can speculate in the comment section below. Now, as for when he's coming, he's going to be coming in patch 1.6, but I don't think he's going to be coming in this date. So, June the 2nd is going to be the beginning of patch 1.6. Let me see where he's actually going to be coming. So, we've got 1, 2, 3. You guys probably won't be able to see this on screen because I've hidden it. But, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, according to my mathematics, he is going to be coming on the 16th of June. Either the 16th or the 23rd. So 16th or 23rd. Never mind, let me 23rd. If my math proves me correct, he should be coming on either June the 16th or the 23rd of June. So yeah, because patch 1.6 I believe starts on the 2nd of June. So he's going to be coming obviously 3 weeks after. Now, why am I saying 3 weeks after? It's speculated that he's going to be the second banner in patch 1.6 because Klee is going to be getting a rerun in patch 1.6. And patch 1.6 is apparently also supposed to be the Ludihar Bastion Festival. So, yeah, that's why. So, Klee's supposed to be getting a rerun in patch 1.6. I should also mention, all information / material in this video may be subject to change. So, take it with a massive, small grain of salt, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Klee is supposed to be getting a rerun in patch 1.6, and Kazuha is supposed to be the second banner after Klee, basically. So, yeah. Now, as for whether I'm going to be pulling for him, well, you're going to have to find out towards the end of the video. Now, let's look at his stats. So, his ascension stat, so basically the stat that he ascends with as you ascend him up. So when you go up the ascension phases, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all characters actually scale up with something. So for Keqing, it's crit damage. For Zhongli, it's geo damage bonus. For Yan Fei, it's pyro damage bonus. Basically stuff like that. You see where I'm going here. So for Kazuha, it's elemental mastery. Now, you could probably already tell which direction this is going in. Now, you can already tell what kind of, character and utility that Kazuha is going to provide for your team. Now, as for his Ascension materials, he requires the Vayuda Turquoise Silver. Or, if you guys want the non-gibberish explanation, he requires the Anemo Gemstones from the Anemo Hypostasis. So the Anemo Cube, yeah, he basically requires the gemstones from them. Now, this, I haven't actually done the Anemo, hypostasis before. I mean, I've done it once or twice, but I've never really had the need to grab Anemo materials because I only have Sucrose as my Anemo character. I don't actually have any other Anemo character. I mean, there's a Traveler, but he doesn't really count. And he uses different materials anyway, so yeah. Anyway, he is the Anemo Gemstones from the Anemo Hypostasis. He also requires a material... he also requires a material called the Margu Kinshin. Now, the Margu Kinshin is a new boss drop that comes from a New World boss. Now, as for what this world boss is called, his name, I believe, is called Kainin Margu, I believe, something like that. And he apparently appears somewhere in the map. I don't know where. So yeah, obviously I'm trying to keep this, this video about, Kazuha. I don't want to stray too far off into like actual update stuff because a lot of people seem to appreciate character leaks. But not so much, like actual update leaks, like new bosses and content and stuff like that. So character leaks are fine, but, not a lot of people really do appreciate, like, actual patch content leaks. So I'm going to try and stay away from that as much as possible, just not to attract as many hate from people, because I'm still relatively new to this. So, yeah, the Margu Kinshin, which is a new boss that we're going to be getting in patch 1.6, and the Sea Ganoderma. Now, the Sea Ganoderma is going to be a new Liyue local specialty that we're going to be able to actually get. Now, if you guys want to know where these are going to be located, it didn't actually say where they're going to be located specifically, but apparently they're found near coastlines and beaches. So, maybe by Yaowang Shoal and stuff like that, basically. It's going to be only in Liyue, so you're going to need to be, going to Liyue and farming these, but as of right now, Margu Kinshin and Sea Ganoderma are not in the game right now. They're going to be coming into the game in patch 1.6. So when patch 1.6 does drop and you guys want to go for Kazuha, you can like start farming these early. And he also requires the treasure hoarder materials. So the insignias basically. Now, in terms of his attack talents, his normal attack is 5 rapid strikes, and his charge attack is 2 rapid strikes. Now, I put his plunging attack here because he's got 2 separate types of plunging attacks. Plunging attacks, I mean, you already know what that is. You know, when a character gets their weapon and, like, does some cool move in the air and plunges into the ground, literally in the name. Excuse me, literally in the name. But, excuse me again. Yeah, so Kazuha has 2 types of plunging attacks. His normal one, and then his second plunging attack, which is called the Ranran Haishi. Now, if a plunging attack is done after using his elemental skill, Chihaya Furu, it deals anemo damage and creates a vortex that pulls enemies in front of him. Wait, what? Hold on. So let's read that again. So if a plunging attack is done after using elemental skill, Chihaya Furu, it deals anemo damage and creates a vortex that pulls enemies in from a short distance for a while. So basically, think of Ranran Haishi as, you know, Venti's Q. So you know when Venti's Q basically drags everything into a small into like a small vortex. That's basically what the Ranran Haishi does. Except the area that it actually pulls you in, that pulls enemies in, isn't actually as big as Venti's Q, obviously, and the duration is about 3 seconds, I believe. So yeah, very. I mean, to be fair, it's very, very good if you need to sort of, make some space for yourself or give yourself some breathing room. So there's that. Now, you guys are probably wondering, what on earth is Chihaya Furu? Well, we'll get onto that right now. So he's got 2 variants of Chihaya Furu. He has the press variant, which creates a whirlwind that pulls in enemies and launches enemies and Kazuha into the air. So basically what this does is, it's a bit like Venti's elemental skill. So you know when Venti presses his E, he only shoots enemies up into the air, but with his hold E, he shoots him up into the air, as well as enemies around him. Well, with Chihaya Furu, it's a bit like that, except both variants launch Kazuha and his enemies into the air. So the press launches him and enemies into the air, and his hold also pushes him up and his enemies up into the air. Now, you guys might be thinking, well, if they both do the same thing, why would you want to use the the hold variant compared to the press variant? Because surely the press variant will have lower cooldown, and that's going to become more useful to me. Well, you are correct, but his hold variant does more anemo damage, so it's basically a more stronger attack initially, and it has a larger area of effect. So basically, the area that Kazuha pulls enemies in becomes bigger. And here's the other thing. Chihaya Furu, you can only use Ranran Haishi after you use the hold variant of Chihaya Furu. The press variant of Chihaya Furu does not actually activate Ranran Haishi, because basically think of the press variant as Kazuha not really launching himself up into the air, but merely just jumping really high into the air. So you know how with Zhao's elemental burst, he jumps really high? It's a little bit like that for Kazuha. So he pulls enemies up into the air, and he also jumps really high into the air. Now, because he jumps really high into the air, he doesn't really have a lot of hang time to basically use his Ranran Haishi technique. So that's why his hold variant is the only one that can actually activate Ranran Haishi and not his press variant. So this is why you'll want to use his hold variant of Chihaya Furu rather than his press variant. Yeah. Now, as for what the cooldowns are, this is 6 seconds, and this is 9 seconds. Yeah, so the hold version of Chihaya Furu has a 3-second longer cooldown than the press variant, which in all honesty isn't that bad, and they're both underneath 10 seconds anyway, which is actually considered pretty fast. Well, not pretty fast, but you know, fast. So yeah. Now, his talent increases, so basically when you go into the talent section and you upgrade his talents, the talents that you're actually going to be upgrading as you increase his talent level is his press damage, so this, and his hold damage, this. Now, if you guys want to know the actual statistics and actual numbers of these, of what basically the damage numbers for Kazuha, then I will put a link to that in the description below. All this information is from Honey Hunters, if you guys want to know. So I will definitely link their website down, and Kazuha's fact file basically. Now, obviously, we also need to talk about Elemental Burst. Now, his elemental burst is called Manyu no Ito. Now, basically, what this does is, it's quite a lengthy paragraph, really. I managed to summarize a little bit. So, yeah, literally all these, everything I write here is literally just summarized materials to make it easier for me and you guys to understand. So, yeah, Manyu no Ito is an initial slash of Anemo deals Anemo damage in front of Kazuha. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, this is actually an AoE, not in front. So it's more of an in front AoE. Sorry. Yeah, it's more of an in front AoE. So it's basically an area of effect that is in front of him. So the initial slash, right, when he gets his sword out and does a huge slash across, it's only in front of him. Okay. So yeah, his initial slash of Anemo deals Anemo damage in front of him, and it's an AoE, right, of Kazuha. After this, there is a field called Ruko Akino. This deals Anemo damage in set intervals. So I believe Ruko Akino is like it's basically a field around Kazuha that actually does Anemo damage at set intervals. So it's a bit like over time. So basically, the Ruko Akino field, basically the entire elemental burst, lasts for about 10 seconds, and the actual Ruko Akino Anemo damage over time only appears 5 times, meaning it comes once every 2 seconds. Now, if you guys want a visual representation of what I'm actually talking about, I will put some videos in the link description to actually get a better understanding of how Kazuha works, his combat style, his character design, all that stuff, so you guys can watch it. So yeah, definitely go and do that if you're confused on what it all looks like. So I explain it in a bit more detail here. So it circles around the current character on the field. So it's not something where once you use it on Kazuha, if you switch to someone else, it goes away. It's not like that. So let's say I have Kazuha and I pop his ultimate with the Ruko Akino field. With the Ruka Akino field, and I switch immediately after that to Lisa or Amber or whoever you want. The Ruka Akino field basically stays. So it transfers over to other characters, basically. So, yeah. Now, if Ruko Akina comes into contact with Hydro, Electro, Pyro, or Cryo, any of those elements, basically, it will deal that specific elemental damage on top of the original Anemo damage. So, basically, it's going to be like the swirl effect, if you guys are familiar with that. So, yeah. So, basically, you're going to be doing any of the elements damage, right, on top of the already applied Anemo damage. So basically it's going to create a swirl effect, really. Now, Ruka Akino can only absorb one element at once. So you can't, so basically once it absorbs Hydro, it will stay with Hydro. You can't switch to Pyro or Cryo or anything like that. So, yeah. Now, the talent increase from the talent upgrades when you level up his talents, you're going to be upgrading his slashing damage, the Ruka Akino field damage over time. So basically, the swirling Anemo around your character, basically how much Anemo damage it does over time. So every time it pings, it will do a certain amount of Anemo damage. That's what you're going to be leveling up. So, yeah, and the additional elemental damage. So, let's say the Hydro on top of the Anemo, you're going to be upgrading the amount of swirl damage you're basically going to be doing with Ruka Akino activated. Now, if you guys want to know what the energy cost is, well, it's right here. it's got an energy cost of 60. Now, if you guys want to know what his talent ascension materials is, so what the materials you actually need to level up his talents, you're going to need the diligence books, which I believe can be farmed on. I think you can farm those on either Monday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday. I can't actually remember, but yeah, one of those days. It's definitely not Wednesday and Saturday. So yeah, I think it's Tuesday and Friday. So yeah, something like that. Anyway, so you're going to need the diligence books, the treasure hoarder's materials. You're going to need the gilded scale and the crown of insight. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what the gilded scale is, the gilded scale is basically the boss material that's dropped from Azhdahar. So you know the new Geo Dragon that we fought in Zhongli's second story quest. If you guys haven't checked that video out, by the way, definitely go check it out. Yeah, you know the big Geo Dragon, Azhdahar, that we fight in Zhongli's second story quest. Yeah, that's the material. He drops something called Gilded Scale, and that's what is going to be needed if you plan on taking Kazuha's talents level 7 and above. And if you do plan on crowning Kazuha, then you're going to need 3 Crown of Insights, or 1 or 2, depending on how many talents you're going to upgrade of his. So yeah. Now, his passive talents and constellations, we're nearly at the end, don't worry guys. His first passive talent is called Matsukaze Karyu. Now, this basically is like, Kaya's passive and Razor's passive, where he decreases your sprinting stamina by 20% and it doesn't stack. Alright, the next one is called Weathering Blade, which is, not gonna lie, the first non-Japanese named thing that Kazuha has. Anyway, Weathering Blade. So Chihaya Furu can now absorb Hydro, Electro, Pyro, and Cryo. So if you guys didn't know I didn't really make it clear, but before, Chihaya Furu could not actually, if you don't have this first passive unlocked, Chihaya Furu cannot actually mix with any element. So if you apply Pyro and then try and use Chihaya Furu, it won't give you the Pyro Swirl reaction. It will not swirl. So yeah, you need to actually unlock his Weathering Blade passive if you want to get Chihaya Furu to swirl, which, in all honesty, is probably what most people are going to be doing when they do get Kazuha. So yeah. Basically, what this is saying is Chihaya Furu can now swirl, and it will deal 200% of that element on top of the Anemo damage. And it can also create an elemental vortex of that certain element when the plunging attack is used straight after. Okay, that was a lot of information right there. So basically what this means is, number 1, Chihaya Furu can now swirl, right? Number 2, the swirl reaction will do 200% of that elemental damage on top of the Anemo damage. So let's say I use Hydro and I use Chihaya Furu, it will do 200% of Hydro elemental damage on top of the Anemo damage, which is basically how swirl works. Now, if you didn't know, Chihaya Furu, Ranran Haishi also swirls. So if you didn't know, Ranran Haishi, right, couldn't actually swirl because it's connected to, Chihaya Furu. So now, Ranran Haishi can actually swirl with that specific element. So going back to the Hydro swirl reaction we were talking about, the Hydro Chihaya Furu swirl can also transfer over to Ranran Haishi. So instead of an Anemo vortex, it becomes a Hydro vortex. That's basically what it's saying. So, yeah. So that's Weathering Blade, his first unlockable passive. His second unlockable passive is called Windsong Poetics. Now, when a swirl reaction is triggered, all characters gain a 0.03% elemental damage bonus to their element for 8 seconds. Now, what this basically means is, when you do any swirl reaction with Kazuha, right, the characters in your party will gain an elemental damage bonus to their element. So it doesn't matter what swirl reaction you do, as long as you do a swirl reaction, you're going to gain an elemental damage bonus to your character's you know, to your character's element. So basically, what that means is, again, going back to Hydro. So let's say I do a Hydro Swell reaction, and I have an Electro, a Cryo, and a Pyro character on my team. I will not only get a Hydro elemental boost, but I'll also get an elemental damage boost to my specific character's element. So let's say I swell with Bennett and I have a Kaching on my team, right? Let's say, what is it? I use Bennett's, E ability and then Kazuha's swell right after that. Bennett will receive a Pyro elemental damage bonus, but because of this second passive, Kaching will also receive an electro damage bonus because that's her element. So no matter what swell reaction you do, you're going to gain an elemental damage bonus which corresponds to all of your characters' which corresponds to all of your characters' elements, basically. So, yeah. That's basically what that's saying. Now, if you want to know how the elemental damage bonus scales, it will scale off of Kazuha's elemental mastery. So, yeah, if you didn't know, Kazuha, pretty much his ascension scale is, where is it? Where's this ascension scale? There it is. Elemental Mastery. So he scales with Elemental Mastery there, and it pretty much looks like you want to try and build up Elemental Mastery on Kazuha. So you can probably tell that Kazuha is going to be a support character. So, yeah, he's going to be, basically, it looks like you want to build Elemental Mastery on Kazuha, looking at his kit. Now, as for what kind of build you should go for and my recommendations, it's way too early to actually understand, to actually give even predictions at this point, because we're literally, patch 1.5 came out like a few days ago, like what, 3-4 days ago, so it's too early to say anything right now, so, yeah. And constellations, we're getting onto constellations. Like I said, the last bit of the video is nearly here. So we've got C1, which is called Senzan Kohin. Now, what this does is it decreases Chihaya Furu's cooldown by 10%. And using Manyu no Ito resets Chihaya Furu's cooldown. So what this basically does is Chihaya Furu's cooldown goes down by 10%. So let's say before it was 6 seconds, now it's going to be like 5 seconds or something like that. Yeah, and then the hold variant, it was 9 seconds, then it would be, now it would be 8 seconds, which isn't that big of a difference in all honesty, but here is where the chips and sauce comes in. Yes, no one really says that, I'm saying it now, deal with it. So, using Manyu no Ito, which if you guys didn't know is his ultimate, Manyu no Ito is his elemental burst. So after using Manyu no Ito, it resets Chihaya Furu's cooldown completely. So let's say you just use Chihaya Furu and it's on that 5-second cooldown after using his C1, and you pop Manyu no Ito straight away before the cooldown actually, it becomes replenished, basically, you will actually reset Chihaya Furu. So basically, let's say you just use Chihaya Furu, and straight after you use Manyu no Ito, that you don't have to wait for Chihaya Furu to cool down. It just resets right there, and you can use it straight away after. So that's actually quite good. But then again, his C1 is mediocre, I'd say, because I think the cooldown isn't really that long, so I don't really think it's like amazingly beneficial, but it definitely does have its uses. Now, C2 is going to be a mouthful. Yamarashi Zanshin. Now, C2 is basically Yamarashi Zanshin. The Ruko Akino field increases Kazuha's and all characters' elemental mastery by 200, which is good, because this is actually a really good constellation, because if you guys didn't know already, he scales with elemental mastery, and his second passive, Windsong Poetics, characters gain a 0.03 elemental damage bonus to their element for 8 seconds, and it scales with Kazuha's elemental mastery. So what this means is, if you use a swell reaction after using, while in his ultimate form, Ruka Akino, you're going to get even more elemental damage bonus here. So Yamarashi Zanshin is a very, very good constellation for him. Now, his C3 and C5 we don't go through because it just increases his elemental skill and elemental burst respectively. So yeah, now C4 is called Uzora Genpo. Now, Uzora Genpo. When Kazuha's energy is lower than 45, two things happen. So the first thing is Chihaya Furu grants Kazuha 3 to 4 energy particles depending on which variant you use. So if you use the press version, it's 3, and if you use the hold version, it's 4. And gliding grants Kazuha 2 energy every single second. So let's say you have if you have 45 and above, this does not apply. But if you have 44 and below energy, if you have 45 energy and above, it won't apply. But if you have 44 energy and below, this will apply. So depending on the situation you're in, if you use Chihaya Furu, depending on the variant, you'll get 3 to 4 energy particles. And if you're gliding, you get 2 energy every single second. So let's just say you have 0 energy and you decide for whatever reason just to glide down all the way from the Dragon Spine mountain, like the top point by the Celestial Nail that was dropped there. Yeah, let's say you glide, you're probably going to have full energy within, well, 60 multiplied by 2 is 120. So 2 minutes, basically. Yeah, 2 minutes you're going to have Kazuha's elemental burst already ready, basically, which is really, really good. No idea how useful this is going to be, but then again, exploration is quite useful. So, yeah. Now, his C6 is called Ketsuseki Haku. So, Ketsuseki Haku. Kazuha gains an Anemo infusion for 5 seconds after using Chihaya Furu or Manu no Ito. So his elemental skill or his elemental burst. He also gains a 0.2% elemental damage bonus from his elemental mastery, and this gain only applies to his normal, charged, and both types of plunging attacks. So his normal one and then Ran Haishi, the one that creates the vortex. So yeah, now this is good for like his DPS gameplay, but it pretty much says that his DPS comes last. You want to focus on his support abilities first. So if you want to main Kazuha, I mean, hey, if you want to main Kazuha as a DPS, like a physical DPS or an animo DPS, go ahead. Alright, you can definitely do that. But what this is trying to say is that his kit is more evolved around his support and not his DPS. So his DPS numbers may be a little bit lower than his support numbers, but you know, you can still run that. You can run any character support. You could do a Razor support if you want. So yeah. You're going to have to be amazing to make that work, but yeah. So that's basically what this last constellation means is, basically all his physical attacks will turn into Anemo for 5 seconds after using his E or his Q, and he'll gain a 0.2% elemental damage bonus from his elemental mastery. So again, scaling with the elemental mastery. And this only applies to his normal charge and Ran Haishi plunging and his normal plunging attack. So yeah, that's basically all of Kazuha's kit and things spoken about, and I just want to end the video off saying all information in the slash material in this video may be subject to change, so take it with a massive small grain of salt. Now anyway guys, whether I'm going to be rolling for Kazuha or not, I was dead set on rolling for Raiden Shougan, but I've seen Kazuha's gameplay and I've seen his kit. His support game is looking really good, and his character design and play style is very nice. Like, very fast, very good looking, if I do say so myself. So yeah, honestly, I don't want to say this, but I may actually... I don't know if I want to pull for Kazuha or not. I mean, if I do pull for him, I'm probably going to use him as a support. But my question is he worth pulling for Raiden Shougan? Do you guys think Raiden Shougan is actually going to work really well with Kazuha or not? So if I do pull Kazuha, I'm probably going to build him up so that I can use him in my Raiden Shougan team. So Raiden Shougan DPS and then Kazuha as a support. Do you think they would work well together? I mean, I think they would, but I don't want to make any rash decisions because I also want to kind of guarantee my pity for Raiden Shougan. And if I roll for Kazuha and Raiden Shougan comes out earlier, then I'm going to be on a 50-50 and I kind of don't want to be in that position. So you guys... let me know in the comments below if you're going to be pulling for Kazuha or if you're not going to be pulling for Kazuha. And if you are, or if you aren't even, why don't you guys help me with this and tell me if you guys think that Kazuha is going to be a good support for Raiden Shogun or not. And if you guys have any other suggestions that he might, any other characters that he might work out with, definitely let me know in the comment section below. But what I'm most interested in is Kazuha going to work well as a support character for Raiden Shogun? Anyway, guys, with that note, I think we'll leave it there. I have been Carvenus14, and still am, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.